What if the greatest spiritual teacher you were never told about was a woman? Not a sinner, not a sidekick, but a divine force whose wisdom could rewrite everything you thought you knew about faith, power, and your own soul. For centuries, the church painted Mary Magdalene as a repentant prostitute, a shadow in Jesus' story. But what if that was a lie? A deliberate erasure to hide a truth so powerful it could awaken humanity. Beneath the dogma, in forgotten gospels and whispered traditions, Mary Magdalene's voice still calls. She wasn't just a disciple. She was a teacher of liberation, a mirror of the divine feminine, and her message is more dangerous today than ever. Stay with me, because this isn't just her story, it's yours. Let's strip away the stained glass version of Mary Magdalene. You've heard her name in sermons or seen her in paintings, always cast as the woman Jesus forgave. But the earliest followers of Jesus knew a different Mary. In the canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, she's no background figure. She's there at the cross when the male disciples fled. She's the first to witness the resurrection, chosen over Peter, over John. Why her? If she was so insignificant, why does every gospel agree she saw the risen Christ first? The truth is, the official story is only half the picture. To find the real Magdalene, we need to dig deeper into texts the church buried for centuries. These are the Gnostic Gospels, fragments of forbidden wisdom rediscovered in the sands of Egypt. And in them, Mary Magdalene isn't a sinner. She's a visionary, a teacher, a partner in divine truth. In the Gospel of Mary, found in 1896, Magdalene steps forward as the disciple who truly understood Jesus' teachings. After his departure, when the others are lost in fear, it's Mary who rises, comforting them with hidden wisdom. She shares visions of the soul's ascent, a journey beyond fear, beyond control, to a divine spark within. This isn't blind faith, it's Gnosis, direct knowing, the kind of truth that doesn't need a priest or a temple. The Gospel of Philip goes further, calling her Jesus' companion, a word that implies not just closeness but partnership in the mysteries. Some male disciples, like Peter, bristled at her authority. Why? Because Mary's teachings threatened the foundation of a church built on control. Let's talk about why her voice was silenced. Early Christianity wasn't a monolith. It was a battleground of ideas. Some saw salvation as obedience to authority, a top-down system with Peter as the rock. Others, like the Gnostics, saw salvation as awakening the divine within. Mary aligned with this second path. In her gospel, she describes the soul confronting powers that try to bind it: fear, ignorance, desire. These aren't demons with pitchforks. They're the inner chains we all face. Her teaching? Liberation comes from within, not from external rules. She warned the disciples, "Do not lay down rules or laws, lest you be constrained by them." Imagine that. A woman telling the founders of a religion not to build a cage around truth. That was dangerous. Too dangerous. And then there's her number, 13. In some traditions, Mary was the 13th apostle, the one who carried wisdom the others couldn't hold. The letter M in her name is the 13th letter of the alphabet, tied to lunar cycles and the divine feminine. The ancients revered 13 as sacred, a symbol of transformation, but the church flipped it. They turned 13 into a curse, Friday the 13th, a number to fear. This wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate inversion to bury the feminine power Mary embodied. She wasn't just a threat to the church's authority, she was a threat to their entire worldview. A woman who taught that you could find God within, that you didn't need their hierarchy. That was heresy they couldn't allow. So why does this matter to you? Because Mary Magdalene's erasure isn't just a historical footnote, it's a mirror. The church didn't just silence her, they silenced half of the spiritual equation. Peter's path of structure and obedience became the foundation of Western religion, but it came at a cost. Without Mary's wisdom, the feminine principle of inner knowing, of balance, the world lost harmony. Her story asks you, what truths have you been told that don't feel right? What inner voice have you ignored because someone said it wasn't valid? Mary's message is a call to reclaim that voice, to question the stories that keep you bound. We've uncovered the hidden Magdalene, Not a sinner, but a teacher of Gnosis, a bearer of the divine feminine. Her story was rewritten to keep you from the truth she carried, that the divine isn't out there in a church or a book, it's in you. But what exactly were her teachings? And how can they change your life today? Let us dive into the fragments of her wisdom and see how they map a path to your own liberation. In the Gospel of Mary, Magdalene shares a vision of the soul's journey. It is not about following rules or earning salvation. It is about breaking free from what binds you. She describes the soul ascending through realms, facing powers that challenge it. Where are you going? You belong to us. These powers aren't external monsters, they're your own fears, doubts, and cravings. Mary's teaching is clear. The soul is never truly bound. It only forgets its freedom. Her words echo, "The Son of Man is within you." Not in a temple, not in a priest, but in your own being. This is Gnosis, knowing who you are beyond the illusions. Those 7 demons the Bible says Jesus cast out of her. In her gospel, they're not literal spirits, but inner conditions. Egoic garments like arrogance, craving, or fear. The ego pretends to be the master, cloaking the soul in distractions. But the soul sees through the ego, even if the ego can't see the soul. Mary's path is about shedding these garments, confronting the voices that say you're not enough, and remembering, I was never bound. I am free. This is where her teachings get practical. Think about your life. How often do you feel chained by expectations, by what society, family, or even your own mind tells you to be? Mary's wisdom is a map for breaking those chains. She doesn't give you a checklist or a ritual. She gives you a question. Can you see through the eye of your heart? That's where the divine lives, not in your doubting mind or deceiving eyes, but in the heart that sees truth beyond illusion. Tonight, try this. Ask yourself, where am I still bound? What cravings are disguising themselves as truth? Then listen, not with your mind, but with your heart. That's where Mary's voice speaks. Mary wasn't just a teacher, she was a living symbol. The Gospel of Philip calls her Jesus' companion, hinting at a sacred union, not just of hearts, but of energies. In Gnostic traditions, this is the Christ-Sophia, the balance of masculine and feminine that leads to wholeness. Mary's red garments, her alabaster jar, her number 13, they tie her to ancient priestess traditions, to goddesses like Isis and Inanna, who embodied creation and transformation. The church couldn't handle a woman as a spiritual equal, so they recast her as a penitent. But her truth survived in whispers in esoteric circles, as the priestess of the rose uniting body and spirit, sexuality and sanctity. This balance is what the world lost when Mary was erased. Without the feminine principle, intuition, inner knowing, connection, religion became rigid, hierarchical, out of sync. Mary's story challenges you to restore that balance in your own life. Are you leaning too hard on structure, on external validation? Or are you ready to listen to the quiet voice within, the one that knows you're already whole? Mary Magdalene's truth was buried, but it was never destroyed. Her voice still calls, not in churches or books, but in you. Her teachings aren't about memorizing history, they're about waking up. Every time you question a story that doesn't feel true, every time you choose inner knowing over external control, you're walking her path. You're remembering what they tried to make you forget.